One of the problems with being old is that you lie down to take a 2-hour nap before doing your video, and the next thing you know, it's been 14 hours. Oops. Anyway. The point was brought up about cobalt mining on the last video that I did, and how terrible cobalt mining is. And I want to point out that cobalt mining is not typically done by industrial concerns. The industrial mining of cobalt is just not a thing. Cobalt's not expensive enough. A cobalt mine is a failed copper mine. It's a mine that has cobalt in it, but no copper. The vast majority of cobalt, like 3/4 of it in the world, is produced by the purifying and refining of copper as a waste product, which we now have a use for. So it's no longer a waste product, it's a byproduct. Still toxic, it will still give you cancer. But the cobalt mining operations that go on in Africa, in Zambia, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and in Nigeria, and just various places in Central Africa, all of that cobalt mining that goes on, those are failed copper mines that no industrial concern is going to be worrying themselves about. There's just not enough in there to be worth it. If you were to bring in the equipment to mine it safely, if you were to reinforce your tunnels and give your miners appropriate safety gear and compensate them fairly for their work, then you wouldn't make any money pulling the cobalt out of the ground. It would actually cost you money to pull the cobalt out of the ground. You're better off just leaving it there. But if you're the random schmo who was schlepping the equipment around for the mining company, and they went, yeah, it looked like there might be some copper here, but it's just cobalt. You can quit your job and abduct some children and beat them until they dig up the cobalt. And that's profitable. You just have to be the kind of person who beats children until they work for you. What kind of person would that be? Well, they're out there. There's a story by Ursula K. Le Guin that was written in 1973. It's called The Ones Who Walk Away from Awfulness. And the gist of it is there's this fantastic utopian Star Trek-style city. Replicators, holodecks, transporters, the whole fucking 9 yards. And the problem is that in order to exist, this city is built on child abuse and torture. That's how it works. You never have to see the child abuse and torture. You can go see it if you want. You can go look. Oh, look, child abuse and torture. Awesome. But you don't have to. You can just live your life. You can pretend it doesn't happen, but you know it does. You know that's what the city runs on. You know that the city cannot exist without child abuse and torture. You've known since you were a child yourself. So you'll be sitting there drinking a cup of coffee and go, man, this coffee's good. I sure am glad I live in this wonderful city where I can get a great cup of coffee. Because it's the child abuse and torture. Oh, well, this coffee sure is good. But some people won't participate in this. They won't be complicit in the abuse and torture of children. And they walk down the street to the city gates and they leave and they never come back. They walk away. They say, I'm not going to be a part of this. I'm not a part of your system. And they throw it on the ground and they walk out into the wilderness and they go and they do their thing, whatever that thing is. Nobody knows what happens to them. They leave the city. I guess it's not as good out there or we wouldn't stay here. But those people who walk out of the city, the thing is, they will undoubtedly be out there drinking a cup of spring water and go, man, the spring water is so nice and clear and cold. It's delicious. I sure am glad I'm not drinking a cup of coffee that was made in Awfulness by child abuse and torture. like they're doing right over there in Omelas, with the child abuse and the torture. What did you fix? What did you change? It's a strictly moral question. That's the foundation of it. That's the real thing. I'll leave a link to the story in the description so you can go read it. Because it exists as a moral quandary. You can't save the children. You can't rescue them from the torture and abuse. In fact, it's only one child in the story. There's one specific child. We have to torture and abuse this one child for its entire life, or the city will fall. There's no way to fix it, or to improve it, or to change it. So you can either live in the city that benefits from it, or you can live somewhere else and not benefit from it. It still happens. The torture and abuse still happens. And this is related to the economy of opportunity. I'm an economics wonk. I'm always going to bring up economics. At the top of your opportunities, you have some wonderful thing like, I don't know, get $1 billion. If you have the opportunity to get $1 billion, should you get $1 billion? Well, yeah, because if you have an opportunity to get $1 billion and you don't take it, you're stupid. It's that simple. Well, what if you had to torture and abuse children to get it? It's a hard question. And you can't tell me it's not. Because as long as it's theory, as long as there is no $1 billion, you can go, oh, I would never torture and abuse children for that money. Yeah, you would. Anybody would. If I offered you $1 billion to do something really, really horrible, you'd fucking do it. That's how much money $1 billion is. There are always questions like that. Like, you know, would you slap your friend for $50,000? Bitch, I would slap my friend for a piece of pizza and a soda. It's... But, what if it was a kitten? Here's a kitten. If you kill this kitten right now with your bare hands, just kill the kitten, I'll give you $1 billion. It's a fake kitten. It's a fake $1 billion. They're not real. But if they were, if it was a real $1 billion and it was a real kitten, almost everybody would choose to kill the kitten. It's just one kitten. It's just one. I'll make it quick. I'll make it painless. No, you won't. You don't know how to kill a kitten with your bare hands. You're going to fuck it up repeatedly. You're going to hurt it a lot, and it's going to suffer a lot because you don't know what you're doing. Well, I hope you don't know what you're doing. I certainly hope nobody watching this is like, nah, I've killed lots of kittens. Fuck you. Get off my channel. Everybody has their price. Everybody has their thing that they'll do. We'll all visit cruelty on someone or something else for our own benefit. We will all do that. We all have our price. And if you say you don't, it's because you don't believe this will ever happen. When you have that opportunity, you'll take it. And I can prove it. Every single one of you watching this, you have pirated music or television or a movie. You have downloaded a program that you could have gotten off of Amazon Prime for $3. and you deprived the owner of that media product of some money because you didn't want to pay it. A lot of people in the Screen Actors Guild are complaining that they did not make enough money to afford their health insurance. You stole their work instead of paying for it. You multiply that across all of the people pirating that television, pirating that movie, pirating that music. You multiply that by all of the people doing that. You are part of the collective crowd that is not paying the artist, and the artist doesn't get paid. And when the artist doesn't have health insurance, you are the reason why that artist doesn't have health insurance. It was not just me. You participated. You're complicit. And you did that for $3 fucking. $3. That's your dedication to art and media and artists. Oh man, Keanu Reeves is great in this movie that I stole. He doesn't deserve the 7 cents he would have made if I bought it. He sure is great. I'm not going to give him 7 cents. And I'm not going to give him 7 cents because in order to give him 7 cents, I got to give Amazon $2. Fuck Jeff Bezos. Babies in bathwater. The opportunities are consumed from the top down. Everybody consumes the opportunities that are available to them. And if there are more opportunities than there are people, then all of the opportunities are consumed before you get to the shitty things like child slave labor and cobalt mines. But if there are more people than opportunities, then you get down to the child slave labor and cobalt mines before you run out of people. And when you have a few thousand people or a few million people that have no opportunities better than child slave labor and cobalt mines, there will be child slave labor in cobalt mines. You can reduce the number of people who are forced to take these opportunities. And ideally, by increasing the number of opportunities, you can have more opportunities than there are people. You can give people better opportunities than child slave labor in cobalt mines. But if you don't, that's a vote for child slave labor in cobalt mines. That's saying, no, you should do the shittiest possible thing that's available for you to do. Most of us aren't in charge of this. We take the opportunities available to us. I am lucky enough that I had access to computers early in my life. I learned how to program computers, and I spent 30 years professionally working with computers. That's an opportunity I got. That's a privilege that I had. But if I lived in the Congo, I didn't have those opportunities. And the best thing I could do was schlep equipment for a mining corporation. And they said, oh man, there's nothing here except a mine you could exploit with slave labor for the amount of money you'd make as a Walmart employee. As a Walmart employee? Fuck, I don't even make half that now. I'm going to go abduct some children. You take the opportunities that are available to you. I've taken the opportunities available to me. You should take the opportunities available to you. When you sit there and say, I have no choice, you do. You do have a choice. But when you say, I don't have a choice but to use the chips produced by child slave labor, keep in mind that the guy mining the cobalt with child slave labor, he says he doesn't have a choice either. Is he right? Maybe. Maybe he does have other choices. Maybe he could take other choices. But maybe it would be inconvenient. Maybe he can't live without his phone. Maybe it's just unfeasible. It's actually infeasible, but a commenter said unfeasible, so I'm going to make direct reference to that comment because, you got to kind of hand wave that and go, yeah, lampshade that you're referring to the comment. It might just be unfeasible to live a life where you don't use child slave labor to mine cobalt. And those of us who live in a position of privilege, where we don't have to engage in the cruelty ourselves, we only have to know that it exists. We're not forced to take that opportunity. We have other choices. We take other choices. And that's what happens. The opportunities are consumed from the top down. If you run out of people before you get down to child slave labor, there's no child slave labor. But if you run out of opportunities before you run out of people, there's going to be child slave labor. Well, that's a fairly sobering intro. Your world is built on cruelty. It's built on torture and abuse. It's built on the exploitation of children for money. And now let's talk about drawing arms. What even is this channel? What the fuck? Oh, God. Yeah, I've been studying the anatomy of the arm. In particular, I've been studying the anatomy of the bones because that's something that I don't have enough of a foundation in, is the skeletal anatomy of the arm. So I've been studying that over the course of the last week. I have a mild problem that I was kind of slapped in the face with this week because I had to take an enormous concrete fountain apart to be refinished, and I had to patch some cement, and I had a bunch of shit to do, and it's hard work. It's hard physical labor, and if I engage in hard physical labor for more than a couple of hours, I can't fucking write code. That part of my brain malfunctions, and it just stares at the screen and doesn't even know what it's looking at, let alone what I'm supposed to do. So I don't know how much progress is going to be made on the game for a while, because as we move farther into spring, there's going to be more and more shit that needs to be done outside, and more of it is going to be physical labor, because fucking blackberries. Oh, I need to go off on a rant about blackberries at some point. But, yeah, because I'm going to be doing a lot of difficult physical labor out there in the fields, I'm just not going to be capable of writing a lot of code. I'm not going to be able to develop the game very much until probably July or August, at least. And that's frustrating, and that's upsetting, because I look at that and I go, that's like 6 months. It's like half the year I can't fucking do software. And I really need to, what I need to do is kind of hit the ground running in September and October and work on the game. And try to get all of the work that needs to be done on the game done in the last 6 months. We all have our limitations. The good news is, no matter how hard I have worked in the fields, no matter how much time and energy and effort I put into that, I can still draw. I can still paint. I can still do stuff like that. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about your basic arm anatomy, and we'll do kind of simplified. There's a shoulder blade, and into the shoulder blade you have this little divot, and therein sits the humerus. That's why they call it your funny bone, because it's humorous. And the humerus comes down, and what a lot of people don't really understand is how it fits together down here. Okay, and from the front side, all right, from the front of the bone, you got these kind of three condyles. But it's the back that's really interesting, because on the back, you have this kind of Y shape. And the thing about that Y shape is that the ulna, okay, at the end of the ulna, you have this little bit that's called the olecranon. So the olecranon, yeah, it's the olecranon. You have this bit called the olecranon that fits in there, okay? And over here you've got the radius. So the thing is that the radius kind of locks in down here, but it has a pivot down here. And the ulna kind of does the opposite. People think of the radius and the ulna as kind of being sticks, as being formed like this. They're not. They're like this. Okay? This is how they fit together. And down at the end, okay? Down at the end, the radius pivots. So what you've got here is you've got the little finger, and then you've got the ring finger, the middle finger, the forefinger, and the thumb, and you've got this nice locked-in area right here. Okay? You got this nice locked-in area. I call it the radius because if you draw a circle of where your wrist turns, it's the radius. It turns around this. It turns around that bone. You can see it doing that if you just hold your arm out and twist it back and forth. You can see it rotate around this bone. You can see it flip over. Because when you turn your hand over, when you turn the hand over like this, okay? This bone comes across, and then you got your thumb over here. And that, my friend, that is bullshit, and that's why arms are so fucking hard to draw. So what I've been doing is I've been kind of looking at the simplified anatomy of this. And you've got this wide part back here, okay? You got this wide part back here on the back of it, where the ulna, all right, the ulna, which rotates around here, comes back here, and it's got this bit that slots in to the humerus right there. So you got kind of this Y shape on the back, and you got this kind of diamond shape that fits in there. And then that comes down, and that comes down, and this thins out as it gets toward the end, and this thickens up as it gets toward the end. So it's thin up here at the elbow, and it's thick down here at the wrist. And there's your thumb right there. And I think this is all absolutely fascinating. So anyway, the other thing that I really need to kind of think about is the shoulder blade. And the shoulder blade is weird because the shoulder blade sits over here at the back, and there's this kind of swoopy bit that comes out and around, and that connects to the clavicle. And the clavicle connects to the, what is that called? Is that the manubrium? Because that's the sternum right there. And that's the xiphoid process down here. That is the manubrium. And there's your clavicle, and that comes down here and connects. And then in here, we've got this, that's the acromion process, I think. Yeah, that's the acromion. And then there's this little bit that wraps around over here. So you've got this bit that wraps around here, and you've got the bone slots in there. And then your muscles are connected in these various places. And one of the things that gets neglected when you're talking about the movement of the arm is the clavicles. Because here you've got your clavicle, and here you've got your shoulder blade, and here you've got your humerus. And when you lift the humerus up, this end of the humerus is going to be impinged by the acromion. It can't go up any higher than that. But you can raise your arm higher than that, can't you? You can raise your arm a lot higher than that. And the reason you can raise your arm higher than that is because when you raise your arm higher than that, this moves up. The shoulder blade moves out. So your shoulder blade comes up as your shoulder comes up. And as your arm raises up, the clavicle also has a cartilaginous joint right there. So when this lifts up, it pushes in on that. And because it can't push in, this is a bone. It doesn't compress. So in order for this to move, the clavicle has to move up. And you can feel that. If you put your arm up, you can feel that clavicle moving under the skin. You feel that happen. That's how you shrug your shoulders. You pull up with the trapezius muscle in the back, and when you pull that up, you can feel that clavicle move. And you can see it when you just look at it. You can see that it has to move up. That's the only way it can do that. So the arm is not really just these two bits. It's those two bits, and it's also this bit that leads to the chest. So when you raise your arm, here's your chest muscle. When you raise your arm, it comes up to here and you're fine, but then when it goes farther up, the clavicle comes up, and when the clavicle comes up, your chest muscle comes with it. So because your chest muscle comes with it, you see more of the back, and you see the axilla, and all of the various stuff underneath of the arm, including the serratus anterior, your lateral obliques, and all of that sort of shit. And all of that kind of fits together into this coherent whole. There's a twist in the humerus. It twists to give it lateral strength, so it's harder to break. if you look at this from the side, okay, you got this condyle right here, and then you got behind that, there's another one right there, and then there's a third one there. But this one right here is actually a divot in the back. So like I was saying, there's kind of a teardrop shaped, what they call a fossa in the bone. That is what it's called, right? Have they got a God damn it. I cannot read that shit. Oh my God, he's old! That's the, oh, they don't actually have that side of it listed. I don't know. But anyway, I would have to turn the page and I don't feel like it. But that's kind of, it's kind of a diamond shape on women. It tends to be more refined, but it's a very kind of boxy and blocky shape on men. A man's elbow tends to be very wide. It tends to come across and have this kind of flat bit. Whereas a woman's elbow is really more of just that point right there. It doesn't have the big thickness to it that a man's elbow does. And that's not diagnostic. You can't look at an elbow and go, oh, that's a man, oh, that's a woman. But if you're trying to make a particular character look feminine or look masculine, then changing the way you draw their elbows can get that across. Little teeny pointed elbows are cute if you draw your arm and your elbow like this. If you draw this arm right here with this little kind of pointy elbow, then that's cute. Whereas if you draw this one right here, that little blocked off edge right there, that makes the arm look strong. It makes it look more masculine. Now, if you're trying to draw a woman that's strong, you still want to give her the boxy elbow, but you can give her more feminine lines. There's nothing wrong with putting a boxy elbow on a woman to indicate that she's a strong woman. Just like there's nothing wrong with putting the kind of pointy elbow on a man to indicate that maybe he's more of a nobility type. He hasn't exercised a whole lot. He doesn't have a lot of physical power. But I've been thinking a lot about elbows. And the way that the different bones fit together. In the arm. Because I've been working on stuff. Can't really write code, so I'm stuck, drawing. And playing Grand Theft Auto. And playing GTA 5 Enhanced. Oh my God, it's so good. It's so much better than it used to be. And it's like, my frame rate's not different. Oh, the speed is so much faster. Well, the loading is so much faster. The game itself, I mean, because the loading is so much faster, the upgrades through how Special works, those are really good and they go really fast. But yeah, I've really been enjoying that. I've been doing that when my brain's fried and I can't think about anything. But other than that, I'm thinking about arms and bones and stuff like that. Because I've been lifting shit and carrying shit and thinking about shit. And, you grab a big, huge urn off of a fountain and you lift it up and you think about, you think about how your arms are coordinated and working. And you get to a point where every time you do anything, you think, how would I draw this? I don't know why that happens. Just happens. Decided to spare you that. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to this week is working outside and playing GTA and thinking about arms and sketching and drawing shit and throwing my sketches away, which I really shouldn't be doing. I should be saving them for posterity, but I haven't been doing that. I've just been whacking delete. Because I don't actually think these have a lot of value to posterity. I think that they mostly have value as ephemeral moments in my development as an artist. They're not really that useful in terms of the game. I haven't been thinking about that. I should work on the sprites. I should be trying to do new animated sprites. Like at the very least, I should get Ichigo put together, but I haven't been doing that because I can't think about code right now. I'm too fucking tired. Anyway, that's where things are. Do the little YouTube dance. Like, comment, subscribe, all that happy horse shit. Thank you for showing up. I appreciate you. It's very good of you to show up. And, okay, bye.